So welcome back to another episode of Hunter's Wheelhouse. Today I have with me Wes and Betsy Breeden. Y'all are located out in Tallahassee, Florida. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all have a little dog that has caught my attention. I saw him on Facebook. The first thing I saw was this dog just diving off a dock, and I was like, "Look at his lab." And so I told my girlfriend about it, and kind of tell us kind of a little bit about Finn.
Okay. Um, Finn's a fifth generation chocolate lab. He's 3.5 years old. He came off a little farm in South Georgia, west of Lake Seminole.
Okay.
We lost our other lab that we had for about 15.5 years. Is why we started looking. After about 6 months, we were ready for another dog. And our daughter actually pushed us in, and she come home for Christmas break, and so we went to check him out, and kind of fell in love with him because, like I said, it was a little farm, but he'd only been outside all his whole 8 weeks of life. They wouldn't let him inside the house, and while we're up there playing and talking to all the puppies, his mama went into the kennel and brought out a deer leg, and just right there. So we were like, "Oh, he's going to be a good country dog," and so that's how we got started with the chocolate lab. Everybody said, "You don't want to get the same kind of dog you had before. You'll compare them." Well, if you've ever had kids, you compare anyway. So, um, so
Hard not to.
yeah. So, at 8 weeks when we got him, he was already retrieving tennis balls immediately. He would go get them and bring them back. And as he started growing, if you know about the chocolate lab at all, he's a little bit more hard headed than a black or a yellow. Really energetic, enjoy. He's wide open, and he hasn't slowed down since he's been a puppy, and he's 3.5.
Wide open.
Definitely.
That would explain why he could fly.
But so the flying part is interesting because if as we started throwing the ball, I had to figure out a way to throw it enough for him without tearing up my shoulder anymore. So we got one of the chuck it and started throwing it with a chuck it ball. And what happened is with the rubber balls, they would bounce a whole lot higher than a tennis ball. And he started jumping 10 and 12 feet off the ground trying to catch it as it bounced.
10 to 12 feet?
Yes, sir. And I was worried about him blowing his hips out, as he landed out on the hard ground. And we do live in North Florida, so the alligators in our lake where we live is not a possibility for him to really swim and swim safely.
Right.
So as he started running and jumping, my daughter actually water skied all through her high school days and everything. So we had access to ski lakes that were private that he could learn to swim and chase buoys and bumpers in it. So we felt safe letting him swim there. So as that grew, we would take him for walks, and the little fellow would pick up a limb on a 1.5 mile walk and wouldn't put it down until he got back to the house. So the retrieving part in him was solid. And he'd already started. Sir?
Just built into him.
Yes, sir. And he would sit out, and we have 2.5 acres, an open field, and he would sit out there in the field and track birds as they come by naturally. So all this was internal instincts as far as chasing balls. We just kept him active, and getting into the sport as far as he was growing. I saw some of this on ESPN over the last couple of years, and I'm like, he might be decent at that just because of the fact that he already jumps up for stuff. And I actually had Googled a year prior and could not find any sites near me. And I guess I just overlooked it. because we have a great training site in South Georgia, probably 30 miles from us, at 24K. And it's
And that's what it's called. It's 24K.
24K
And where's
retriever
that located?
outside of Cairo, but the
Cairo,
address
Georgia.
Cairo, Georgia.
Cairo, Georgia. Big shout 24K. That's pretty cool.
It's world class. The grounds are clean. The swimming pools are probably cleaner than a lot of pools that we get in and clean. It's a saltwater pool, but they train everything from sporting dogs to obedience to conformational, barn hunt. They do it all up there. So there's a little gym in our back area. So after I'd saw the promotion on ESPN the last time, which was probably last July or June, they mentioned there was a person from Tallahassee that was doing dock diving, and I'm like, okay, if there's one in Tallahassee, there's somebody doing it out of Tallahassee. It's got to be close. So I reached out and I found out where it was. So I met Miss Marie. She's one of the trainers up there. Made a visit up there, asked how we got started, and basically you do an introduction to the pool. They want to make sure your dog can swim because they start them like we discussed earlier, as early as 6 months.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, but they will, but it's more off the ramp and it's more just short. I mean, not even 10 feet of dock because the docks are 40 feet in length, the maximum.
Wow.
But see, Finn was already pushing 2.5 to 3 by the time we got up there. Even though she wouldn't let us train at full dock, I could see the potential because the first time we threw the buoy, he probably jumped 25 feet. And
25 feet?
yes, sir.
Oh, my
And,
God.
and she started giggling. She goes, "Oh, he's going to be good." The
Oh, I
training,
bet.
the training wasn't for Finn. The training was for us. Finn's was
Oh,
natural. It's all in technique of how you learn to throw and how you time it so you can stay ahead of it. Because if you throw the buoy short or whatever toy you're throwing for your dog, if he turns left or right or looks behind him, it stops his momentum. So, so all of it is more on me when I'm the thrower and my wife's the handler. As far as at the back of the dock, she talks to him and gets him pumped up and keeps them from leaving before I'm ready.
we love you,
And,
Miss Betsy.
Yeah, it's a job. It's a job.
and
That's awesome. So this is an actual team effort.
absolutely. I mean, I jumped with him. There was a meet this weekend and a qualifier, and it was at our site, the 24K. And she can get off Friday, so I took him up there just to get our tickets and do another event called Hydro Dash, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But and so I just did one distance jump because he's so focused when you get to the dock. You can call if you get near that pool within 1,000 yards, he is pulling you, and you can talk to him, and nobody can turn his head. He's going to be looking right there. I mean, and it's a game for everybody up there. They 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 call him just to see if he'll look away, but he will not. He's so focused.
Just locked in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is some of the training that goes into that as far as your husband and wife team there? What is the training that goes into you're in, Miss Betsy, and then we'll get
Um,
into Wes's in?
well, when we started, both of us were trying to throw. We use something called a WUVA. It's a Kong product that's it's like two tennis balls with a tail on it. And we were both trying to learn how to throw that. and I decided real fast that he was a better thrower, so I can handle him. So what we basically had to learn was like where to position him to begin with, and how to, like, I had to learn how to talk to him, how to like get him jazzed up so he's ready to go, like pay attention to this buoy, what's going on, watch Wes and how he is getting ready to throw. So I know Finn's got his attention on the right thing, which is not hard, but the hardest part is holding him. Um, he will do a pretty good sit stay, but he is so driven that he is ready to go. And if you're not ready, you could be throwing super late if he doesn't, if you don't hold him, and Wes will give me a signal and then I'll let him go so he can run. And then, Wes is the thrower, so he can tell you about that.
Well, I find that so neat. I find that so neat. So basically, you're the head coach. Wes, you've got to be Tom Brady every time. And Finn is Deion Sanders or whoever the heck he wants to be. He's the Randy Moss of catching. So, I mean, that's pretty neat. So it all coincides into one, and you all work as a team, correct?
Correct.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would love to hear more, please.
Okay. Well, the dock's actually 40 feet long, and that's the maximum. So you can't start them any farther back. And you actually, for anybody that's had kids or anything in track and field, you actually, as you get more and more involved and try to tweak it and get the most out of it for you and your dog, you start counting strides. So he doesn't jump 6 feet early off the dock. You want him closest to the end so you can get the maximum distance, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Kind of like a long jump scenario almost. So you got to make sure you get your right steps.
That's absolutely correct.
Very cool.
So as we started, I mean, I guess we've been doing it since about September of last year. So we're still fairly new. But we have a great dog. I mean, I hate it's him. It's not us, other than giving him the opportunity. I mean, so the training part, as long as he runs 2 hours a day chasing a tennis ball. I mean, we have kind of a Fitbit GPS on him that tracks how often he's active. It has a boundary allowed to it, so we can tell where he's at, and because we don't have a fenced-in yard per se. So the biggest thing is he runs a couple hours a day at least, and then we probably go to the pool and rent it once or twice a week, and we call it playing basically because he loves it so much. So the first 10 or 15 minutes, we'll run him really hard up and down the dock, more so I could get timing to throw the buoy for him or the wubba. And then rest of the time, it's kind of like how you handle the dog to send him out to go get birds or anything else. I'll just let him run up and down the dock, and I'll say, "You're gonna get ready," and he'll stop maybe at the 18-foot mark, or he may stop at the 20-foot mark, or wherever, and he'll trot the wubba and let me get it, and he'll stay there, and I'll say ready, and he'll take off, and we kind of do pitch and catch. Then it's this, I call it pop-up drills, and it allows him to be rewarded catching the buoy almost every time. So and then at the end or whatnot of a practice or a play time, I'll get him to heel beside me and stay, and I'll throw it to the back of the 40-foot pool, and I'll send him just so he can finish out swimming 3 or 4 times to kind of get rest of his energy out. But the unfortunate
That is so
thing
cool.
is,
That
the
is so
unfortunate
cool.
thing is when he goes and we drive back, which is, about 40 minutes of driving, and he sleeps all the way home. He's ready to chase tennis balls again when he gets home. He's not so, but as far as the team part, Friday I was up there by myself, and it's a proven fact that my wife's handling him and pumping him up makes a big difference, because I had a friend of ours hold him for me to throw, and his best jump that afternoon Friday was only 30 foot 6 inches. And as the weekend went, we jumped 4 other times, and he didn't have a jump under 32 feet.
Holy mackerel, Miss Betsy. Toot,
Just
toot.
gotta whisper in his ear. Just gotta tell him.
So, Miss Betsy, I got a question for you, because it's so interesting to hear how this is such a teamwork effort. On your end, what do you feel is the key moment when you release that hound, or I say hound, I'm sorry, but when you release your lab out of your hands, when you're releasing Finn out of your hands,
Mm-hmm.
what is that feeling like, and what is that moment right before? What is the preparation that comes to that moment?
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about long jumping, because we started having him sit to give the command ready. Let's get ready, let's get ready. And he would sit like at the back of the dock. Well, one time he wouldn't sit. He was so uptight about it. He was ready to go. He wouldn't sit. And he jumped like 2 foot farther by starting from a standing position. So I actually realized that when he would stand, he would, how a long jumper will like take that step back and then go forward, like
Yes,
to
ma'am.
propel themselves. He would actually do that. He actually does that. He'll stand there and shake. He's so ready and so amped. He'll shake. And I hold him by the chest. I don't hold him by the collar anymore. Some people will hold him by the collar, but he's so like ready to go that I'm afraid to hold him by the collar. So I hold him by the chest and just put my hands like lightly on the front of his chest. And then when he gets so ready and he sees Wes bring that blubber up into the air, he will actually rear back, and he knows he's almost ready to go. And
But
then when Wes says go, I let him go, and he propels himself forward from that. So and just, stand up and watch, because just from the back of the dock, you can tell that he's just flying off the end.
it's amazing to watch it, Miss Betsy. I was just astounded. I mean, 30 feet, folks, 30 plus feet. I mean, 32 feet average is what he was getting there.
He
That's
has
what
an
you,
average of 32.1, and his PR, personal best or personal record, is actually the pool record at 34.9. So,
whoa. All right. So we're talking about a dog that's almost jumping out of a pool.
well, it's pretty amazing for a lab, especially. It's not that unusual. Like your friend has a whippet. It's not that unusual to see whippets jumping that far when they're doing really well, or even further. But for a lab, he's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. For sure, exactly what you just said, because there's a difference in these lighter dogs jumping that far and seeing this
Hmm.
big, stout, chunky lab, and he's just soaring through that air, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because it looks like he's
Well,
got a rocket.
I don't know how chunky he would be considered, because he's nothing but a solid muscle. But
That's what I mean. Just big,
yeah,
stout, manly of a
yeah,
dog. I mean, he you can tell
yeah.
he's just built full of
Well,
mass.
and it's hard to hold him back when he's ready to go.
In all fairness, in competition hunting with coonhounds, we line our dogs up very similar to what you were talking about there, and we cut them together, and all the
Hmm.
hounds disperse. But I have noticed over the years that a lot of hounds, they get held by the collar like this. I've also learned I reach around and I cup my dog and I hold him by his chest,
Hmm.
and you don't hear that
That's
where you're
right.
choking them. And I
That's
really
right.
feel like, and I've had an advantage in a few hunts with it where my dog has actually barked first. And I feel like some dogs get choked up a little bit and it takes their air.
Yeah, I think
And
so too. It's such a sprint that by the time he sprints, jumps, swims back, and he's constantly running up and down the dock. Like when we go from the end of the dock, the pool end of the dock, to the back of the dock to get set up for the next jump, he's running back and forth until we give him the ready command. and then he'll come to his spot and get ready. So
Wow.
yeah, he's breathing pretty hard.
Yeah, it's just
And
amazing to
so am
me.
I.
I bet you are. How important the throwing part is, right, Wes?
Correct. That's other than your dog running and jumping, the throwing is probably the most important part. Because if you're short or you throw it behind him or left and right, you impede his forward momentum. The tricks that I've been taught over my short 6 or 7 months of throwing is you have to stay in front of your dog as far as I'm 6'2". So if I would start standing up and as I go to throw, it would be above his eyesight. So I try to squat down so he can actually see it from the beginning to the end of the throw. And it's more of an underhand throw, not like an overhand. And it's timing, and it's taking a long time, and I'm not always on time because he's got me with his teeth because I've been late and he's trying to take it out of my hand.
Woo!
But actually Sunday I was late, and he actually grabbed the buoy as it was leaving my hand off the dock and still went 32 feet 6 inches.
Oh my gosh.
So he was already ramped up going. But the better to throw, and I know it when I throw it, is the jump. I mean, it's all in distance. And we've been talking about dock diving, and there's actually, this is called distance when I'm chunking a buoy or a bumper or whatever. So there's actually 3 disciplines in the dock diving, and we'll get into it. I didn't want everybody to think dock diving was just how far you can jump. It's actually comprised of 3 different disciplines.
I'd love to hear about them.
So basically, I don't.
Oh yeah.
This is a wubba, and the trainer told me let's start off with a wubba. This is the extra large. I had to keep growing with the size of the wubba because of the fact I couldn't throw it as far as I needed to.
So you had to change. Okay, so it's kind of like a weight deal. So you had to change your weight.
Yeah, started out with a medium, and that's what she had up there. And he was out jumping me all the time. I mean, even when he was only at half dock, he was jumping 26 and 28 feet. So it was so I moved to the large, and I soon figured out I was having to throw it so hard. I was pulling and tugging, and the throws weren't consistent. And they make weighted bumpers. You can, I mean, people throw all sorts of things. I've actually tried some bumpers, but it seems like he likes the wubba, the mess right now. But I've got to figure out a way to get more weight either in that or go to a weighted bumper. So, but along with talking about distance and how far he jumps, and it's incredible what he does, don't get me wrong, but the sport's set up for lap dogs, full-size dogs, whether it's a whippet, which are the elite jumpers, Malawas, and there's some labs that are in the top of the class too. But there's people that bring their dogs that are little lap dogs of all kinds that just love to swim and jump in the water, and they actually have different divisions for these dogs and these handlers too. So it's all about having the dog have fun. Some of us get a little more competitive than the others, but but it's an interesting sport to go out and watch it. If you ever find one that's in your area at maybe a fairground or whatnot, you can take your dog, and they have something called try-its, it's pretty inexpensive. It's like $10 to even get them out there on the dock, and they typically give you 3 or 6 minutes, and you can even see if your dog will even jump into the lake or pool. So,
well, that's pretty neat. It seems like it's very family oriented.
it is. It's very much so. I mean, you have kids. You don't see as many kids throwing as handlers yet. A lot of, but a lot of adults and I guess I'm gonna say my age and the 50s or whatnot. But there's all sorts of dogs. We got a bunch of German Shepherds up at where we train, golden retrievers. We have some whippets in our area too, and but it's just interesting to watch them all and how the handlers react and how different people throw or can't throw. But their dogs. It's for everybody. It's the same. It's based on how driven they are and how somebody can throw the bumper or buoy. And
what is something you think that is the ultimate key behind a good dock diving dog?
Drive.
Speed and drive.
Speed and drive.
Speed. I mean, as you were talking about long jumps, it's all. You can start putting math into it if you want to get so serious. I mean, it's all about how much speed they can move their mass to get distance. And then if a dog will track as far as the bumper or what you're throwing, so he will jump up and not just straight, because you need a little bit of air to be able to get him to have some distance. Because Finn occasionally won't track the buoy or something, gets distracted, and he just goes flat and straight. And that probably relates to a 26 or 27-foot jump, not a 32, or but he's just recently started. I guess we've gotten better timing. He's probably getting a little used to it. My wife changed the way he stood, so it's a learning curve the whole time. And I thought the first time he broke the full record, it was the tailwind that helped me throw better and straighter and everything. Well, he broke the full record this weekend again. It was in a headwind.
Holy.
So our
now,
pool.
when you say headwind, I mean, you're talking about a good, strong headwind pushing to its face.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would assume over 35 feet with a dog of what would Finn weigh?
70, 68, 70 pounds.
Okay. All right. So you're talking about a pretty stout, strong dog. So that much body mass, long ways, and then with a headwind coming onto that, I imagine there has to be some type of effect on it.
I would imagine so. I mean, it does for jumpers and long jumpers and other athletes of other, but if you've ever watched one, they fold up. I mean, his feet get tucked, up underneath him. He looks like a small bullet, or a big bullet, whichever way you want to look at it.
That's right. Look at Flying Finn, man. This guy's crazy because he literally just tucks up, and it's almost like watching a hunter jumper horse. They'll tuck up to go under, and he ain't even touching. He's just going. It's just so cool to watch. So cool. And tell us a little bit about Hydro Dash.
Okay. Hydro Dash is more of a swim event. What they do is they place a bumper. It's about 38 feet, no matter how long your pool is. I think it's in that 36 to 38 feet range, and it's constant no matter if you have a 50-foot pool or a 40-foot pool. And it's a timed event. They can't, for a dog, full-size dog, you can't start no farther back than 10 feet. So he can't get a run and jump and take advantage of all his speed and jumping half the pool. It's about getting a good jump and then him swimming as fast as he can and getting the bumper, making a turn and coming back to the dock. And it's all time. And
so they literally have to go, retrieve, swim it back around?
Correct.
and back to the handler.
Back to the ramp.
Wow. Wow. So you're starting on a dock coming off. That's so interesting. So it's almost like doing a lap time in a pool.
Absolutely.
Very
It's
cool.
all about, and so you have dogs, and Finn's one right now that he's not as bad as one of the whippets that's out there. He'll grab the buoy and then he starts trying to kill it, and you'll see him shaking it and everything, and that's eating time up. Finn's not quite as bad, but he's repositioning it in his mouth halfway coming back.
Oh.
He easily gets distracted by people on the sides of the pool. So that if we have an event that's a weaker one right now, because we hadn't done it but 3 times, and but he's a fast enough, in a trial, and he's a fast enough swimmer that he just actually qualified for regionals this weekend. So we've got to tighten up the times and figure out how to get his endurance up a little bit better for swimming, and how to motivate him to get him to come back.
Sounds like he's running over Miss Betsy right now, getting excited. He's pumped.
Well, also about Hydro Dash, he did mention that you don't have to keep the buoy. You just have to dislodge it from where it's stationary. You have to dislodge it, and in other words, you pull it down from where it's fastened. And so one of the things that Maria is going to start working with Finn on is actually dropping that buoy and swimming back to the ramp to retrieve maybe a squeaker toy or something with more value to him. So he'll swim back faster. Because you don't have to bring the buoy back, you just have to dislodge it. And that's like the whippet he's talking about. We'll keep that buoy, he won't give it up. And so one of the challenges that we'll have with Finn is getting him to give it up.
Yeah, trying to get him to get that release. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but right now he's just a novice at that. Like, he's just starting to learn more about Hydro Dash. That was our last event that we took on. We've been doing distance the whole time, and then he started air retrieve a couple of months ago, Wes, couple to 3 months ago. So
very cool.
He's just wanting attention. He's wanting attention.
He's wanting attention now. Finn, Finn is a 5th generation lab.
Chocolate lab.
What? Yeah.
Okay. And what was the name of the kennel he came from again?
He didn't come from a kennel. He came from just a individual that hired a sire, and his mother's name was Calder Southern Scout. But I mean, I found them through AKC's website, and they had puppies, and we actually were going to see a couple of different sets of puppies. And when we got to this farm, I actually thought I was going to see a different puppy, but obviously we never made it to the other place.
He picked you, huh?
Yeah, he picked us. Exactly.
That's such a cool thing. I always say that with my hounds. I say my hounds, I never pick my hounds, they pick me. I really do. And it seems like when they do pick you, all of a sudden you got something special. And I'm so proud for you guys and for you and Finn. And golly, I'm so excited to learn more about this. Now, if someone would like to get started into Hydro Dash, where would be a good place to get started in Hydro Dash? And also, say they're in Tallahassee area, to get started in Hydro Dash, also in dock diving.
Well, I think Marie's 24K Retrievers is the best in this area. I mean, and it's probably one of the only places in this area, North Panhandle of Florida. But she does like a kind of a get acquainted class, when you first start, so you kind of get a feel for what your dog likes to do, if they like to, or if they'll even jump off the dock. Because like Wes was saying, some dogs are very hesitant and they won't jump off the dock all the time. Or there's some dogs that they've jumped in the water and it's been too cold, and then they get scared to jump in the water again because they don't want to get in the cold, or for whatever reason, if they don't have the drive to do it, it's always not the best to push them, and they're not going to let you do that anyway. But they got to have the drive to want to swim and retrieve into the water. And of course labs are natural that way, and he's got a big drive. So,
Yeah.
but
And how
that would be my suggestion.
absolutely. And thank you for that because there's so many things to learn about this. I mean, it's such a it's a newer sport too as well. And I think that it's important for everybody to know out there that there's these really cool sports out there that you can do with your dogs, and it doesn't matter. They don't have to be registered, and they can be your best friend, and you can go out there and have a blast with them.
Well, there's all Americans. I mean, mixed breeds. I call them all Americans. Um, and their divisions aren't whether it's Whippet or Lab, or I mean they do it lap dog because they're 15 inches or smaller, and then they do open, and that's for dogs that are taller than 15 inches. So, and then as the distances go down the pool, they call it a master or premier. So there's actually premier and elite are at the end of the dock. So I really don't know all the other titles because fortunately Finn out jumped all of them right off the bat. So as far as the links, but they have a division for anybody and everybody, and it's about consistency and having fun with your dog. It's and everybody supporting everybody. It's not my dog's beating your dogs. There's not a lot of that going on. It's really family friendly sport.
Well, and we jumped through an association called nadd, North America Diving Dogs, which is the only association that's recognized by AKC. So you can go to their website, just put in like NADD diving dogs, and it'll come up, and you can see the different levels of the distances that they have. I mean, they have everything from novice is 1 foot to, it says 1 to 9 or 1 to almost 10 to junior, senior, master, elite, and premier. Premier is, 28 foot to 40 foot. So,
Wow.
which is primarily what Finn's jumping in.
What is the current world record? Do you guys know?
36 feet 11 inches.
Oh, is that Sounders?
Yeah, that's Sounders.
The Whippet Sounders.
The Whippet, yes, ma'am. Sounder was a Whippet that jumped 36.9. Now,
11.
How old is Finn, and how far is he into his training?
Finn's almost 3.5 years old.
Okay. Oh, 3.5. He was born in 2019. Sorry.
And he's been doing,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jason. He's been doing it for about 10 months.
About 10 months. So he's a newcomer to the sport then.
Correct. And the training is me. It's not him. I mean, we're having to figure out him as far as how he runs and what helps him get driven, and then it's the throw. And that's for distance. And so, you're talking about hydrodash, and that's a different animal to get him motivated. So like one time he'll have a really good time, and then the next time it looks like he's on a afternoon swim in your backyard pool, that he's just enjoying life out there. And so that's the trick for us now, to figure out how to keep him driven to come back faster. And then there is another event. It's called air retrieve, and it's a distance event too, but they actually hang a buoy above the water, 4 foot above the water, and they move it from distances as close as 6 feet to, I really don't know what the real record is, but I know there's a dog that's jumping at least 28 feet right currently. And Finn's best in a trial is 22, and that's all about lining them up on the dock and getting them motivated too to do that. So
it sounds like y'all are having a blast.
We are. It's actually fun to see him. I mean, we don't. There's some people that holler and scream and try to holler at them to get their dogs to get motivated down and jump up and down. Well, I guess we're different because I asked my training lady the other day, if I start acting crazy on the dock, do you think he'll do any better? And she told me he'll probably just get off the dock if you act crazy. And so he comes back and he's the one that acts crazy and happy. He's bouncing up and down. He's barking. He um, he's showing that he's having fun. And you have 3 minutes on the dock. Once you get up there and take his collar off, you have a 3 minute time to get 2 jumps in and a practice if you want to practice. So we take advantage of that because he's a good swimmer. I mean, he is good. And so, it takes him less than 15 seconds to get down the dock and then probably at least another 15 to 20 seconds to swim back. So we have a couple of minutes. And so we let him enjoy whatever he just accomplished, and Betsy's good about praising him and really talking to him and getting him fired up and bouncing up and down. So we try not to restrict that because that's his time to shine and have fun, because the rest of the time he's on a leash up there because there might be 50 other pets up there, or dogs, and they're all, most of them are high driven, so you don't want any confrontation. So, where he's home, he can run and play and do whatever. So, he may be on a collar and a leash for 4 or 5 hours. A lot of people crate their dogs, and we kind of let them hang out in the truck and enjoy the cool air. We take them a walk. They've got about 5 acres up there. We take them a walk about all around and just keep them motivated. And we try to take him back to see the dock a little bit, but he doesn't understand that it's not his turn at that time. And
Yeah, mostly that's why we don't crate him, because most people will set up their tents, near the pool, and they'll put their crates and put their dog in the crate, and they'll have lawn chairs and cooler, whatever. We can't do that, because if we did that, he would use all his energy. He would be like wore out from just barking and like wanting to go to the dock. Because if you walk anywhere close to the dock, he's going to drag you towards the starting dock. So we sort of like keep him away and keep him over in our vehicle, or away from the dock, so he doesn't get himself so crazy worked up all the
And get that
time, the whole time.
adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
correct.
Absolutely. Well, folks, I found that pretty neat that you said that. And what is the reason why you don't crate?
Well, we don't crate him at the trials. We separate him. A lot of people will crate their dog like right there by the dock, and so if we did that, he would be amped like the whole time, because he has such drive towards the dock that we would never be able to get him to calm down and rest in between sets or splashes. They're called splashes. To get the kind of rest that he needs to perform the way he does, we'd never be able to get him to calm down enough. We do crate him at home. He has his own crate, to have his safe space at home, but not there, because there would be no way to. I mean, we could possibly use a crate like away, like if we went out into there's a big open field that we all park in. If we, set up a tent out there and crated him, but he's used to his blanket and things on the back seat of our vehicles, and that's where he likes to be. So that's sort of his crate, but he can't see the dock.
Right.
So
Right.
it works for him.
Well, in coonhounds, it's interesting you say that. I show hounds as well as hunt them. And with showing hounds, one thing my mom and I try to always do is we notice that over the years, if we keep our dogs inside, they tend to get extremely nervous, just extremely nervous. And so we learned throughout the years that we kind of keep them separated because it gives them that anxiety and that buildup. You don't need that when they need to be focused.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that's very relatable to the same thing that you guys have to deal with as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we did go, one of the trials we went early in our dock diving events, and we went to a regional in Orlando, and it was in a convention center. And everybody warned us that it could be overwhelming for Finn, plus us, that because it was the largest AKC event of the year. So there was over 5,000 dogs at this event, not dock diving, but show dogs and groomers. And it was something for me being in, I'm just a fishing, hunting person and lived in the woods of Leon County. And to go somewhere and see that event that takes 2 weeks, and it was a little overwhelming for me, but Finn, the noise and the lights, he had no issues. He saw the water and the dock. He was ready to go. I mean, it was, so it was pretty interesting to see that environment didn't change him as far as where he was at. But we didn't crate there either. We took him back out to the car, and because we know that the anxiety would build up because he'd be wanting to jump the whole time.
And how did he do at this event?
It was on a mobile dock. He was only jumping, probably at that time he had never cleared 30 feet, but he jumped 28 feet, and he was the largest jumper at that event, and he won his regional qualifier at his first big event he'd ever went to. So, and we had people come and show up. It was the fun thing is have people not know us and come to watch him, because people would talk about, here's a lab that's jumping so far, and we've got shirts made, and it's kind of a play. My daughter, she don't like me to say this kind of stuff, but she was a competitive water skier, and when we traveled and went around the United States with her, it wasn't, hey, Wes and Betsy, oh, there's Kelly's dad, and that's my daughter's name. And so when we made shirts, I told my wife, I want on the front of it, I want it to say, I'm with Finn, because that's the way we've always been recognized in every sporting event, by the person we've been taking and handling and helping perfect their craft, per se. So,
I'm gonna have to get me one of those.
I sent y'all a copy. I sent y'all a picture of the back of our shirt, so you have it, and we can have you one made if you want it.
Oh, we definitely want it, and I definitely have a hound, and interestingly enough, that he loves ball and he loves to retrieve, and he also loves the water. So I will be reaching out to you guys, and I will be coming up, and I would love to meet y'all in person and meet Finn. But the world's been waiting. We've got to see the one and only, the man himself. Where's Finn at? We got to see Finn.
He's in his crate. Come here, boy. Come here. His crate's right here in my office behind me. There.
Hey, Mr. Finn.
You want to sit up so you can see? There we go. Can you see?
Woo!
Okay.
There you go, folks. That's Finn. Miss Betsy,
Yeah.
It's been an honor talking to you. Mr. Wes, thank you so much for this opportunity. Y'all have taught me so much in a short amount of time. I will be reaching back out to you guys, and I cannot wait to continue this friendship.
Look forward to it.
This is awesome.
We'll rent the pool, and we'll go up there and rent the pool and let your hound try it and see, and you'll fall in love with it. That facility up there is clean. It's open. You talking about the event that your dog chases down a line? They actually have, it's not underneath dock diving. They have something called Fast Cat, and it's the same principle. They have like a little tennis ball with a flag on it, and it runs in a straight line, and it's how fast they can go. And you talk about, your hounds and everything as far as free and whatnot. They actually have something called barn hunt, and they put hay bales and a mouse in a clear case, and they let the dogs of all sizes see how fast they can locate it. And as they build up their confidence, and they have to notify, it's kind of like the drug sniffing dogs. They have to let the handler know that they have alerted on it.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
They do as many as 5.
Wow.
events, and it's pretty interesting to watch that. We want to try to get Finn in that, but it's time and it's just so. But no, I enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to give a special shout out. You mentioned Fast Cat. Fast Cat is a really cool event. There's a lady by the name of Bonnie Lynn Davis, and she does not get the recognition she deserves, but she actually bought a dog tree and walker off my mother, and he is now the fastest tree and walker in the nation.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so he has set his own records, and he's carrying on the tradition, and it's such an honor to meet folks like you and Bonnie Lynn Davis, and I cannot wait to further my education and understand it more and come up there. And y'all's sportsmanship seems completely different, and I cannot wait to feed in that as well.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, we have people that, like my husband said, when I wasn't able to come that day because I had to work, people will hold for you. They'll hold your dog for you. I've held for other people's dogs when they didn't have their handler with them. Everybody wants to see everybody do well.
Well, folks, here at Hunter's Wheelhouse, this is the kind of folks we love to talk to. Miss Betsy, Mr. West, thank you so much. Finn, you're a big winner, buddy. We're looking out for you. And thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe to the podcast, folks. I'm telling you, I'm so excited to have folks like this on it. It just makes my day. Mr. West,
yes.
Thank you so much. Miss Betsy, have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.